I'd like to call the Monday, June 22nd, 2020 meeting of the Blue Springs Planning Commission to order. If I could ask everyone to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome everyone this evening. It's nice to see some faces back in person instead of over a video screen for a change. And welcome to those of you watching us from home as well. Before I go through the agenda, I would like to welcome Mayor Pro Tem Kaler, who is going to be serving as our liaison from the City Council for the next year. And I would also like to thank Councilman Fowler for serving in that role the past year. So welcome. And starting off with the agenda, I'll run through the agenda real quick. We'll have item 1 is the consent agenda. Item 2 will be a public hearing for a rezoning of Lakeview Road. Item 3 is a public hearing for the vacation for RGH redevelopment. Item 4 is a site plan design review with alternative development standards for RGH redevelopment. Item 5 is a public hearing rezoning for Chapman Ridge, first plat lots 2 and 4. Item 6 is a public hearing for the plan development concept plan for Chapman Ridge, first plat lots 2 and 4. Item 7 is a public hearing for planned residential overlay concept plan for Sunny Point PRO third plat. Item 8 will be a final plat for RGH redevelopment first plat. Item 9, a preliminary plat for Sunny Point PRO third plat. Item 10, other business. Item 11 is adjournment. So with that, I would entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Billups.
I would move for approval of the consent agenda.
I have a motion. Could I get a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Fairbanks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So that gets us to item 2, which will be the public hearing for the rezoning on Lakeview Road. Before I open the public hearing, I'll read through the procedure real quick. I'll open the public hearing. I will call for exhibits from our city attorney. Staff will make comments. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make their presentation. Then I will ask for witnesses in favor. Then I'll ask for witnesses opposed. I will have general discussion on the record between the commissioners. And then I'll close the public hearing and we will consider it for a recommendation. All right, so with that, I will open the public hearing for rezoning RZ 0520-7335 Lakeview Road. And if I could get the exhibits from our attorney. She's hiding down there, I can't see Jackie.
Chairman Graham, I offer the following exhibits into the record. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on June 6, 2020. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference.
All right, thank you very much. And Mr. Wright is going to make the staff presentation this evening.
All right, thank you, Chair Graham and Commissioners. Before you this evening is a request for a rezoning of property located at 622 Northwest Lakeview Road. The approximately 1/3 of an acre property is located south of Northwest Lakeview Road, approximately 100 feet east of 7 Highway. This property was originally constructed in the late 1950s or early 1960s as a single-family residence and was converted to a commercial daycare facility in 2004. This building has remained vacant and for sale for several years, and the applicant would like to convert the building back to a single-family house as it was originally constructed. The subject, according to historical zoning maps that we have on record, the subject property as well as the single-family residences on either side of the property have always been zoned commercial since they were originally developed. This property was rezoned to T5, which is urban center, as part of the adoption of the downtown zoning district in 2007. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property to T3, which is the suburban zoning district in the downtown zoning district, which is the predominant single-family zoning district in downtown. Although the zoning district would differ from adjacent zoning districts, which are a mix of general commercial, general business, and the urban center zoning district, which is predominantly commercial or mixed use. The land use is still consistent with the surrounding uses. The buildings on either side, even though they're zoned commercial, are still used and have continuously been used since the 1950s as single-family residences. The Downtown Review Board reviewed the rezoning request on June 9th and recommended approval. Based on the review criteria for rezoning, staff does recommend approval of the request, and I will stand for any questions you may have.
All right, is there any questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Billups?
Just one quick question. Just refresh my memory on all of the T zonings, because it's been a while since we did that. With the T3, could it still be a commercial building at some point in the future if
So the T3 zoning district allows single family by right. Any other uses are allowed by conditional use permit, and the only limits on that are for two family as well as live work. There is the option of, for a home-based business, potentially you could have a conditional use permit for that. But any other multifamily or commercial uses would require rezoning back to T4 or possibly T5.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, any other questions from the commissioners? All right, thank you, sir. Is the applicant with us to make a presentation? Nothing to add? Did the commissioners have any questions for the applicant? All right, is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor? Check. Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? All right. Any comments, questions from the commissioners on the record? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. And I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Billups.
I would move for approval of the rezoning RZ 05207335.
All right, I have a motion. Could I get a second?
I will second. Go ahead.
I have a second from Commissioner Fairbanks. This will be a roll call vote.
Planning Commissioner Scott Casey,
Aye.
Commissioner Billups,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Stokenberry,
Aye.
Commissioner Fairbanks, Chairman Graham.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, that motion carries. So we will send that recommendation to the July 6th City Council meeting
6 o'clock.
at 6 o'clock. And then they will consider it from there. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing for the vacation of RGH Red Development, which we will also hear items 4, which is the site plan design review for RGH redevelopment, and item 8, which is the final plat for RGH development. We will hear all 3 items with the staff presentation, and then we'll consider those separately. So I will open the public hearing for vacation VAC 0520-7301 and ask for the exhibits from our city attorney.
Chairman Graham, for VAC 05207301, I offer the following exhibits into the record. 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on May 23, 2020. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference. And for SPDR 05207300, I offer the following exhibits into the record. 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on May 23, 2020. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Jury is going to make the staff presentation for us this evening.
Thank you, Chairman Graham. I'll go over the vacation first, and then I'll go over the final plat and site plan design review as requested by the applicants. The vacation request is for vacating South Outer, Northwest South Outer Road, public right-of-way located adjacent to the properties addressed at 2501 and 2525 South Outer Road. If I can zoom in here. The property in question is just the angled portion of, sorry why I'm fidgeting with this. Well, I won't zoom in. So the portion of the right-of-way that's being requested is actually in the angled portion of South Outer. And this might actually provide a little bit clarity on the request. The exhibit provided by the applicant, they are requesting to vacate.
Mr. Jury, can I interrupt you 1 second?
Yes.
I had a slight oops. I need to open the public hearing for the site plan design review as well, which the exhibits have already been read. So I'm going to open site plan design review with alternative development standards for RGH Red Development as well.
All right.
Sorry about that. Now you may continue.
Thank you. So with the vacation, the applicant is requesting to vacate part of South Outer Road. The right-of-way, as you can see, actually goes in the gray area. It goes across the property and then down about 22 feet to connect back up with the existing right-of-way at South Outer. They're proposing to vacate the portion of the right-of-way on the, is there the touch screen on this? Well, they're proposing to actually vacate the portion of the right-of-way that is beyond the 30-foot width of the right-of-way that's typically required for a collector street. So they're leaving South Outer Road on their center line, from center line of South Outer out. They're leaving the 30-foot on their side of the right-of-way to be left as right-of-way, and requesting to vacate everything in towards their property from that line. So the applicant has provided a traffic study, and they submitted it, and it showed and verified that the requested area is unnecessary for the flow of traffic. However, there were a couple memos provided by Evergy as well as the City of Blue Springs Public Works Department that there are existing lines in the right-of-way, and as such, the utility easement should be reserved to protect those existing public utilities. So staff does recommend approval of the right-of-way vacation to be vacated as the right-of-way, but with the condition that a utility easement is reserved across the vacated area. As far as the final plat and the site plan design review with the alternative development standards, I'll jump over to those pages. So the property in question, 2501 and 2525 South Outer Road, are the two existing buildings located here, as you can see in the aerial photo. The applicant is proposing to redevelop, renovate those existing buildings with a couple or new facades, as well as an addition on the a vertical addition, a second story on the westernmost existing building. The applicant is also requesting final plat approval of those two lots with the existing buildings, as well as a third lot to the west, the triangle lot located just to the west of the existing two buildings. Here's an site plan showing the location of those two buildings, as well as the proposed site improvements around the three sites. So they're final platting all three lots, the two buildings as well as the western lot. They are including that western lot. They don't have a plan currently that's being proposed for any building on that property, but they are using that property as an access drive for that western existing building. So in order to use it as an access drive, it does need to be platted, and so that is the reason behind platting the three lots and only proposing two buildings on the interior two lot, or the easternmost two lots. Here's the eastern building on what should be lot 1 as proposed on the final plat. As you can see, they're proposing approximately just utilizing the existing building on lot 1. They're proposing to reuse it for an indoor recreation use. The existing building is almost 13,000 square feet. They do meet parking minimums and a few other items, but they are requesting alternative development standards on this lot concerning several things. So I'll go over a few of those here. First, the request on this lot alone is the elimination of the parking perimeter buffer along the western property line of lot 1, and staff believes this is an agreeable request since the two existing buildings were built on one lot with no property line there, and so they share the parking sort of in between. And now that they're proposing to separate those two existing buildings as two separate lots, staff believe the need for a parking landscape buffer between those two lots would, one, be infeasible due to the cross-access easement there. It'd block, there is an access easement located between the two lots. So that would block that access, as well as just making the site hard to work with existing buildings. So staff does recommend that alternative development standard on lot 1. The landscape plan does generally meet the code requirements, except for along the I-70 frontage, and also the north buffer along I-70, as well as the south buffer has a little bit of an encroachment in the southeast corner where their trash enclosure is behind the retaining wall. They are asking for some alternative compliance landscape approval for that and their reduction in the landscaping requirements as well. Here is an elevation for the building proposed. They're using stone veneer as well as some metal siding, as you can see, the brown being the metal siding and gray along the top, as well as some awnings and glasswork as well. Here's some images of the proposed materials. Additionally, there is an existing retaining wall on the property, and the applicant has provided the proposed graystone look on the new extension of the wall, and they propose to utilize the existing wall located at the property currently. However, staff does have some concerns due to the back side of the retaining wall not matching what materials they are proposing. So staff does have a condition stating that any portion of the retaining wall that sticks above ground should have that stone veneer look that they've proposed, or that stone facade look, rather than the concrete masonry block look. So those cover most of the requirements on lot 1. As far as lot 2, here's lot 2. So the proposed lot 2, applicant is proposing to reuse the existing roughly 13,000 square foot building and construct an additional 18,000 square foot addition on top of the building, including a little bit of addition on the first floor as well. They're proposing to use this as an indoor recreation use as well as indoor vehicle sales. The plan does not provide allowance for any outdoor vehicle sales due to the minimum parking requirement as currently shows is just met on this proposal. So no spaces would be allowed to be taken up by the outdoor sales. In other words, they're at the minimum parking requirement, and so they can't reduce anything to place sales outside of the building. But indoor sales is an allowed retail use as such in the existing zoning, and so the applicant may provide that use on this property. A few of the requirements, alternative development standards, and the public hearing request that are being requested by the applicant on this property is again that buffer along the east property line of this between the two lots, requesting that parking buffer to be reduced to 0 due to the same reasons stated previously. The applicant is also requesting the drive aisle width and the parking dimensions to be reduced compared to the UDC standards for parking drive aisles and stall dimensions. Typically, drive aisles are supposed to be 26 feet wide and stalls are supposed to be 18.5 feet long, and they're proposing 17.5 and 22.3 feet in the northern portion of the site. Some of this is due to site constraints due to the existing building being where it is and trying to meet parking requirements as well. Staff believes these are minimal requirements and or minimal requests, and believe that the a lot of other cities in the metro have similar requirements as well in terms of dimensions proposed. So staff is agreeable to allowing that requirement request. The remainder of the site largely meets code. Again, there's a couple things in the landscape table that don't meet code. They are requesting some reductions along the landscape buffer required along I-70 and some other minor reductions in landscape units provided as well, or plant units provided. Staff believes that most of these requests are acceptable, but staff does have a little bit of a concern along I-70, Interstate 70. The applicant is proposing to reduce a lot of the plant units proposed along the northern border, and they are also proposing, or currently in talks, according to a memo provided by them, they're currently in talks with MoDOT to remove all of the existing landscaping along I-70. So staff believes that if the existing landscaping is completely removed, that they should provide some trees. 1 per 75 feet is the typical requirement for frontage buffer type. So staff would recommend that if they are removing all the existing trees on MoDOT's property, that they should provide some landscaping on theirs according to that standard. I'll jump over to the here's the proposed building elevations for the western building. As you can see, they're using quite a bit of masonry as well, stone veneer, glass, and metal siding as well as some stucco along some of the first floor elevations or the basement floor elevations, as well as a metal roof So here's again some of the materials provided by the applicant. There is some timber work trim on this building as opposed to the other one. As far as that, that concludes the site plan design review. The final plat shows all 3 lots as proposed here. Does meet the code requirements and does meet the preliminary plat minimums of what the proposed preliminary plat shows. So staff does recommend approval of the final plat since it is in substantial compliance with the preliminary plat. So if I'll stand for any questions, staff does recommend approval of the vacation, the final plat, and as well as the site plan design review, with conditions.
All right. Any questions? Yes, Commissioner Billups.
Two separate questions. On the second lot where you've got the smaller parking spaces and the reduced width, would there be any kind of restrictive signage or anything like that on those lots? That I know I've seen that like in some parking garages and things like that where it says economy cars only, you know, that sort of thing, so that you don't end up with a four-door dually parked in one of those short spaces or something like that.
That could definitely be something that the applicant could provide.
But it wouldn't be anything that would be required or anything like that?
If Planning Commission wanted to make that a requirement, to provide some traffic safety, parking safety, and typically the applicant or the developer is in charge of making sure that their site's safe and functions properly. So I'd probably prefer to just leave that to the applicant and the developer to police their own site. But in the name of reducing, I guess if we are reducing requirements, then we do want to make sure that they're properly taken care of and there's a reason behind those requirements.
And as a follow-up to that, because I'm thinking as I'm going along here, we had a request 6 months ago or so, something like that, on the UDC to reduce the sizes of the aisle widths and stuff like that, and we decided not to do that.
Correct.
If we had, would these changes have fit within those changes if they had been made?
Are those 24?
I know there was the aisle width was one of the things that was being reduced.
I think it went from 26 to 24, and then from, was it 18 feet long, I think, is what the proposal was for the stall length, 18 and a half to 18. So this is still less than. So it'd still be smaller than would have been even if we'd made those changes. Correct.
Okay.
As far as I remember.
Okay. That's what I thought too, but I was just checking memory here. And then as a secondary the second set of questions on the retaining walls and is it replacing those large blocks, or is there some way of adding texture to them? What is how does that work?
Oh, let me pull up. So in general, the applicant is proposing to utilize the existing retaining wall and then add a little bit of a retaining wall to the east, where they need to pick up some grade to make it work. But the staff condition is any portion of the retaining wall that doesn't look like the proposed stone veneer. They need to add a stone veneer to that side if it's above ground. So I didn't have time to verify and they might not have been far enough along in their grading plans to figure out if the existing retaining wall needs to be reduced in size and taken down in height, and maybe hardly any of it is shown above ground on the south outer side, but staff requirement sort of covers that, where if any portion of that concrete block side facing south outer is above ground, then it has to have the stone veneer applied to that face.
And again, I said, I don't know from a construction standpoint, is that replacing those blocks, or is that something that can be added to them?
So it'd be like a stone veneer on a building, where you build the building and then you plaster or put like thin set or something up, and the
Okay.
masonry blocks can come in, or the stone veneer might only be like inch thick or
No,
2 inches
I
thick, so-
understand. I just didn't know if it was a veneer or if it was, again, because I'm thinking of the expense of replacing those very large
Yeah.
blocks. If you had to take them down and put another one up there, and then are you saying any block that has any visible, or only the ones that are fully visible?
Any block that has any visible area above ground should be provided to. So I guess the code, or the condition that we wrote was the building plans to install the stone look or similar stone veneer on any portion of the retaining wall located above grade must be provided. So on the building permit, when they submit plans, they need to verify that any portion above grade will have that stone veneer. It doesn't have to be removed. The existing block doesn't have to be removed. Just some stone veneer has to be applied.
So
to the
some
existing-
treatment on the outside of the
Correct.
wall has to be.
Correct. That is the intention, and I hope could be interpreted in the language we wrote.
Okay, because that's, I was reading replacing the blocks, and maybe that's because I didn't understand the process, and I was thinking that could be very costly, especially if you had to replace a block that was 3/4 or 90% covered with dirt to get that 10% with a stone face on it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the condition says install the stone look. So hopefully that current staff will interpret that as just the veneer being placed on an existing stone.
Okay,
the block.
thank you.
All right. Any other questions from the commissioners? All right, is the applicant with us? I get you to come up, and you'll have to be sworn in, and then I'll need you to state your name and
My
address for
voice is
the record as well.
heard. I believe Lee is the applicant, and I'm the architect helping the developer, so he's the civil engineer and I'm the architect.
Okay, if he's gonna give testimony, we'll have him sworn in, but I need to have you sworn in first.
Oh, okay.
Over the-
You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Your name and address.
I'm Joel Marquardt, 5021 Clark Drive, Roland Park, Kansas.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yep. Just a couple of things. Yeah, just to clarify, that's what I understood as well, that all existing blocks can remain. And I hadn't even heard that till now, but as I understand, you can just add to it. So, the one thing I had a question, I really appreciate staff has been very thorough with us, and we've had a lot of dialogue, so I appreciate their focus on the detail, but also working with us and trying to understand that we're kind of a complex team and an owner trying to get something done to satisfy some clients, so it hasn't been easy. The one thing I would ask you to consider is the one tree every 75 foot. If you get a big bulky tree, and the whole point of these is to be on the highway to get those views, and the views, unlike a lower traveled street where you get perpendicular views because of your slower speeds, at those high speeds, your angle is pretty sharp. And so if you have a tree every 75 foot, you're probably gonna block out the view of those buildings. And I'm sure the owner will do what he has to do to satisfy the city, but I would ask you to consider possibly a lower requirement, or maybe elements that would allow the signage to be seen, because I'm concerned the signage might not be seen with even 75 foot on center, 25 to 30 foot around. Wouldn't take that sharp of an angle to block out the signage, so that's my only concern. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Or Lee, did you want to come up?
Okay, I'll need you to be sworn in and state your name and address for the record as well, please.
You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Your name and address.
Lee Reichard, 6009 Maple, Mission, Kansas.
Thank you.
You guys have been talking about the block wall. I also would like to add that part of this project would be doing half road improvements. So that would include widening the South Outer Road there and adding a 5-foot sidewalk, so the grade will actually come up on that existing wall, so it won't be as prevalent as it is right now. Probably get that pretty close to zero in most places when all the improvements are done in the right-of-way. I'd also like to reiterate Joel's point about the reason why we had asked for a variance for the landscaping on the north side there was the visibility of the interstate there, and that was the whole point of removing some of the stuff in the MoDOT right of way. It wouldn't make much sense to go through that and then put up a whole bunch of new trees. So that was our thoughts on that, and just some of the other points we talked about. It's a existing site. We're trying to utilize what's already there. So some of the parking and other things, we just had to use what was there. And so that's why we're asking for some of the variance on some of those things. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions from the commissioners? Doesn't look like it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, do I have anybody with us this evening that would like to speak in favor of either of these petitions? Okay. All right. Did you want to add something? Sure, you're still sworn in.
I would just like to say, I know I've heard you online. I know everyone's pretty positive about this. I was just going to say, I mean, with this, I was at Barnes & Noble yesterday buying some books, and I saw this mini curling club or curling game you put on your desktop, and I was like, wow, I'm like the one person who's going to buy 5 of those. But this curling club, I think, is the only one maybe in like a 400-mile radius or something. So anyway, I think this is a really unique development to have the curling club and the muscle cars. I mean, I'm not a car guy, but I just think it'd be really interesting to have in those windows lit up at night, having these kind of muscle cars or old classic cars in there. So anyway, I just think a couple of these are really unique opportunities, ideally for the city, and I look forward to bringing my family there, hopefully, if it gets passed.
All right, thank you. Did I have anybody that wanted to speak in opposition? Mike?
Nope.
Okay. And then I will come bring it back up here for the commissioners for comments on the record. Commissioner Billups?
I just wanted to say that I am glad that someone is working on this site. This has been an eyesore right there on the highway for a very long time. And I welcome you to the city, and I think what you're doing looks terrific. I do have a question for staff. Is there any way that the landscaping, the I-70 landscaping can be set to be a lower landscaping rather than a tall landscaping? Is that an option, or?
Yeah, so the condition we placed, recommend, didn't specify the type of tree. So it just said a tree every 75 feet. So, I mean, there's ornamental trees that grow pretty low that could be placed in that location.
Does it have to be trees, or can it be just low shrubs?
We'd have to change the wording on it if we wanted to, but Adams Dairy Landing had a similar tree spacing along their I-70 frontage in there behind where Chipotle and some of those are along I-70. So sort of based that condition off similar requirements for them.
Okay.
I know right now those buildings are pretty visible in their awful state, so I'm assuming they'll still be pretty visible in an improved state, especially with the nice colors and everything else. So I think they'll be fine.
Okay. Any other comments from the commissioners? All right, I'm going to close both of the public hearings, and then I would entertain a motion on the vacation.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Billups.
just keep it going here. I would move for approval of the vacation VAC 05207301 with the 3 staff conditions.
All right, thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Commissioner Fairbanks. This will be a roll call vote.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Stokenberry,
Aye.
Commissioner Fairbanks,
Aye.
Commissioner Casey,
Aye.
Commissioner Billups,
Aye.
Chair Graham.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, that motion carried unanimously. We will send that recommendation to the July 6th meeting of the City Council at 6 o'clock. So next would be item 4. I would entertain a motion on the site plan design review.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Billups. Just keep it going.
keep it going. I would move for a approval of the SPDR 05207300 with the 5 staff conditions. I think staff answered my concerns, and I'm fine with the conditions as they are.
All right, I have a motion from Commissioner Billups. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second from Commissioner Fairbanks. This will be a roll call vote as well.
Planning Commissioner Stokenberry,
Aye.
Commissioner Fairbanks, sorry.
Aye.
Commissioner Casey,
Aye.
Commissioner Billups,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Stokenberry. Aye. Chair Graham.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
And that motion carried unanimously as well. And then that would bring us to item 8, the final plat. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Billups.
I would also move for approval of the final plat, PF 05207299, again with the 5 staff conditions.
Okay,
A second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Billups, second from Commissioner Fairbanks. Do I need a roll call vote on this? This will just be a
Voice-
yea or nay, voice
voice
vote.
vote.
So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously as well, and we will send that recommendation to the City Council for their July 6th meeting at 6 o'clock as well. So now jumping back to, we're gonna take a short pause and give staff time to do some quick. We're gonna keep going? All right.
Yeah, the residents that are out there are mostly to speak for the last project on the agenda.
Okay.
Might as well just keep rolling.
All right, well, we'll keep moving along then. So next items on the agenda are 5 and 6, public hearings for the rezoning of Chapman Ridge and public hearing for the planned development concept plan at Chapman Ridge. So I will open both of the public hearings, the RZ 0320-7265 and the PDC -03-20-7266. And I will ask our city attorney for the exhibits on both of those.
Chairman Graham, in RZ 03207265, I offer the following exhibits into the record. 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on June 6, 2020. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section, Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference. And in PDC 03207266, I offer the following exhibits into the record. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on June 6, 2020. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section, Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference.
All right, thank you very much. And Mr. Wright, let's
Right.
make the presentation for this evening.
Yep, thank you, Chair Graham and Commissioners. Before you this evening are 2 requests for a rezoning and a plan development concept plan for Chapman Ridge lots 2 and 4. The subject property consists of 8.25 acres and is located approximately 250 feet north of Southeast Colburn Road and west of Chapman Ridge Drive. This property is located east of Chapman Farms and south of the undeveloped Roscoe Ryder Park, which is approximately 30 acres to the north and east of this property. The applicant, Salee Development, is proposing to develop the property as an 88-unit townhouse-style apartment complex. The first request is for a rezoning. The northern 5.32 acres is currently zoned TF2 family, and the southeastern 2.93 acres is zoned MF14, which is moderate density multifamily. The proposal is to rezone all 8.25 acres to MF14, which is moderate density multifamily, with a PD plan development on it. This current zoning was approved in 2006 as part of the larger 95 acre Chapman Ridge development, which includes everything east of Chapman Farms, which is the crosshatched area to the west of this property. Based on the proposed PD concept plan, the MF14 zoning district is the most appropriate for the property based on the proposed land uses, building types, and density that are proposed with the concept plan. The second request is for the concept plan for the 8.25 acre property, which does include 21 fourplexes and 2 duplexes for a total of 88 dwelling units, which adds up to 10.67 units per acre, which is slightly above the MF10 zoning density, and quite a bit below the MF14. So they just were slightly over to put them in the moderate density multifamily category. This site will be accessed from 2 new points of access off of Chapman Ridge Drive, which currently dead ends to the future parkland to the north. That would be Rose Garden Lane and Rock Garden Lane. Both streets will terminate to the southwest of the site, which will provide a future connection when the Lot 3 of Chapman Ridge is developed, however that is developed, to Little Garden Lane, which is down currently dead ends here on the west property line. Sorry I don't have the highlighter there, so I'll just kind of circle with my cursor and hopefully you can see where the lines are down there where we currently have ingress egress easement that could potentially be platted as right of way in the future depending on how Lot 3 develops. 4-foot sidewalks are required on both sides of the street as required by the residential design standards. And in lieu of a 5-foot sidewalk along Chapman Ridge Drive, the applicant is proposing an 8-foot hike bike trail, which would provide a connection to the future park. This hike bike trail would eventually connect to Colburn Road, where a trail has already been started along Colburn Road here to the west as part of the Gardens of Chapman Farms development. So that would create a continuous trail connection from Chapman Farms to the new park. The proposed development is classified as an apartment complex building type, which accommodates a grouping of buildings within a common development. All applicable lot design, lot area density, setbacks, building separation, coverage, and height have been met. There are 2 modifications noted in the table on page 9 of the staff report where modifications are needed. The first is to modify the frontage type from the buffer edge to a yard and setback frontage. The main reason for that request, and staff does support that request, is due to Chapman Ridge. Generally the buffer edge is mostly appropriate on an arterial street to create additional screening and buffering between the corridor and the development. However, Chapman Ridge Drive will function more as a collector street, and since it will generally terminate at the park, there's not gonna, other than people coming and going to the park, there won't be a lot of significant through traffic through that area. And therefore, rather than screen that off, have it interact more with the street like a typical residential development would. And then the second modification is related to the open space, which I will get to the open space plan here. The open space as provided by the applicant is highlighted in gray and outlined by the dark black lines on the screen. The site does meet the minimum 40% open space requirement overall, but it does not meet the minimum 10% active open space requirement, which is based on the development of open space areas meeting the open space system requirements in the UDC. Pages 7 and 8 of the staff report go into a little bit more detail on how staff has reviewed this. The applicant has provided 4 open space areas, which are highlighted on the screen. Staff believes that open space, The first one is the pocket park here in the center of the development, which does include a sidewalk connection to the 2 blocks, as well as a playground. Staff does believe that that meets the intent of a pocket park, and therefore that has been counted as active open space. The second is some of the land over here along the east boundaries of the property adjacent to Chapman Ridge Drive. That is adjacent to the 8-foot hike bike trail, which would include seating and then just general landscaping along the trail that is on private property. In the past, there are several developments that have been developed as PDs in recent years, including Colonial Highlands, Hoot Owl Ridge, that have both counted trails that are off-site due to the fact that they are installing that or adding additional amenities to that trail. So staff also believes that that meets the intent of the open space systems. The third open space area is located on the south side of the property adjacent to the detention basin. Within this area, the applicant is proposing a rock and pollinator garden. Although this does provide some enhanced landscaping, it does not meet any of the open space system requirements to be counted as an active open space. And then the fourth and final area is located in the far northwest corner of the development. And the applicant is proposing that being used for passive open space. And again, that does not meet the open space requirements based on the definitions of the systems that we have in the UDC. Based on that, the site has provided 4.36% active open space, which is short of the minimum 10% required for the building type. To better meet the open space system requirements, staff had requested an 8-foot hike bike trail on the south property line. However, due to the topography in that part of the site, the applicant has determined that that's not feasible. There is an exception that developments within the service area of an open space system, including a public open space system, could request a reduction in open space. This development would be within the Roscoe Ryder Park service area if it were developed. However, there's not currently a timeline or development plan approved for the park. And therefore the location may warrant a reduction in open space based on that if the Planning Commission and City Council believe that the limited active open space amenities that are currently proposed are sufficient in the near term until the park is developed in the future. Parking requirements have been met for each unit, which does require a minimum of 2 spaces off-street. Each unit does include a single attached garage as well as at least 1 driveway space out front. Bike parking can be accommodated within garages. And then the third and final modification, and I'll bring back up the colored rendering because I think it shows it a little bit better, is for the maximum driveway coverage on a multifamily block, which is capped at 25%. So in other words, no more than 25% of the front yard of an entire block can be covered with driveways. However, due to the design and the fairly common design of the townhomes that we see in a lot of parts of the city, that is difficult to do with the front-loaded garages, and therefore they are requesting a modification to allow the plan as shown, where they have 24-foot driveways for each driveway section. There is a maximum driveway width of 24 feet, which they have met that requirement without needing a modification. If the Planning Commission or Council does not approve that, the applicant would have to determine other parking solutions such as side-loaded or rear entry garages or parking areas, which would be difficult based on the design of the townhomes and the current restraints, but that would require a full redesign of the site. Exterior elevations, conceptual elevations have been provided, which do show 2-story buildings with front-loaded garages and recessed entrances. Building materials are proposed to include masonry and vinyl siding in both lap and shingle style, as well as some batten board siding as well. On the front elevations, sides and rears, although not shown on here, would be vinyl siding. A conceptual landscape plan has also been provided with the packet. And this will be reviewed for compliance with the UDC landscaping requirements with a PD final plan and site plan design review. Landscape buffers will be required along most of the boundaries with the exception of the west property boundary as well as along Chapman Ridge Drive where landscape buffers are not required for the MF14 zoning district. And then they are also proposing monument signs at both intersections with Chapman Ridge Drive. Staff did review the request under the rezoning review criteria and finds that the request is in compliance with the future land use map and S1 area plan with the which classified this property as mixed density residential. The proposed land use is in keeping with the proposed zoning district and creates a transition for commercial zoning to the south and parkland to the north. Although Chapman Ridge was not originally developed as a PUD, the concept plan that was submitted or that we have record of did show 252 units on the entire 95 acres, of which 67 units were on the subject property. That does represent a net increase of 21 units on the property. However, that increase in density is significantly offset by the loss of 185 single-family units that would have been built to the north on the land that is now designated for parkland. So overall, the overall density of the development is actually decreasing as with the changes that were made. Staff did review the concept plan under the review criteria and finds that the proposed plan provides for the development of a cohesive townhouse-style apartment complex. Proposed modifications are generally due to the unique site location adjacent to parkland, as well as site restrictions based on the limited connectivity to adjacent properties. The plan does reflect generally accepted planning and design principles and is complementary to similar projects in the area, including the Gardens of Chapman Farms to the west and the Orchards at Chapman Farms, which is a similar townhouse-style development at the northwest corner of 7 Highway and Mason School Road. Staff does recommend approval of the rezoning and approval of the concept plan with 8 staff conditions, and I will stand for any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Wright? Yes, Commissioner Fairbanks.
I don't know if this is the correct time or item number. I'm curious if one of the duplexes was eliminated, how would that impact the open space? Would that take it up closer to 10%?
That might add, it probably would maybe get them up to around 6%. So they'd still be short of the 10%, but they'd be at least halfway there.
Yeah. I'm concerned about the amount of active open space because none of us know when that future park is going to be developed. We do not. I mean, it's been on the books for a number of years. That's my main concern with it.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Casey.
To clarify, you said that at one point you had looked at another path on the southern end. Was that correct? Or that was deemed not feasible?
Yeah. So what staff had looked at is currently the trail terminates here at this western property line that lines up with the west boundary of the property. Staff's thought on that was the trail would be completed likely much quicker and with just one additional lot finishing that, as opposed to these additional 2 lots having to also help complete that. Staff's other concern was that there's a pretty steep drop off on Colburn Road, and the topography there makes it more difficult to put in a trail without putting in some kind of a bridge for the trail, which would likely be significantly more expensive. And staff also, currently these are zoned commercial, but with the topography, we're not really sure the feasibility of how well those would develop in the future as commercial, if they would develop as commercial. So that's why staff's thought was that that would be an opportunity to help get that trail completed quicker, and also help the site meet the active open space.
But there was some pushback on that, is that right?
The applicant's engineer, the applicant stated that there was some topography challenges with that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Salee, I need you to be sworn in and state your name and address for the record, please.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give this case will be the truth, so help you God?
I do. Tyler Salee, Salee Development applicant, 3730 Northeast Troon Drive, Lee Summit, Missouri. Happy to answer any questions. I think Matt's done a good job overviewing what we have proposed here. In response to the active open space, we have looked at this in a couple different ways on how we can meet that. So the south border here, putting I think it's 8-foot hike bike trail that would run from Chapman Ridge Drive essentially across our south border would pretty much, I think, get us to that 10% open space. There's a fairly large ravine that kind of runs through that area. If you've driven by this before, you've probably seen that. We had some concerns about that trail being constructed and then also having to be maintained in that area. The topography there is not conducive for a hike bike trail. Can it be done? Probably. Is it a good thing long term? I don't know, just because it's kind of a tight area and the topography there is pretty challenging. So we thought that keeping the hike bike trail along Chapman Ridge, continuing it south to Colburn, and eventually over west to our development is the Gardens at Chapman Farms that comes to the east there that you can see where the dead end is. So the improvements along Colburn Road there, then eventually connecting that trail that would then go up to the park. So we thought that was a better option. And that was kind of, I guess, our give and take was where's the best location for this hike bike trail that makes the most sense. It does put us under the open active space requirement. The other study that we did do was, Matt, if you'll scroll up to see that North Street, up in the northwest corner there, that last building that you see, if that building is eliminated and that area turns into open active space, I believe we get near that 10%, or very, very close. So those were kind of our two options. We did ask for the variance of the 10%. I know we're lower than probably what everybody wants to be, but so there's a couple different options there as far as how we can get closer to that, or if need be. Our request now would be to keep it as we have designed. We think it's the best alternative. So, but happy to answer any additional questions or concerns regarding that.
All right, Commissioner Fairbanks.
Yeah. I think that the option that you gave of eliminating that one fourplex up by the northwest corner is a good option, because that way you'd have a active open space for that section as well as an active open space for another section at the lower level. So you'd have two separate active open areas. I could go with that. I think that's a good option.
Any other questions, Commissioner Billups?
Two things. When I looked at this, my thought was not eliminating that fourplex, but maybe the duplex next to it. And that gives you access to that whole back corner without reducing the units quite so much, and probably puts you, about the same area-wise. And then I had a question for you, and I don't. Did you look at, by any chance, anything other than this same tire design on these fourplexes?
Same design as far as the front-loaded garages?
It's the front-loaded garages with the, this, door, garage door, garage door that we've seen, as staff said, all over town. I would really love somebody to come in with a fourplex that looks different from all of those other ones.
Sure. We did not study that for this site. This site being kind of the size that it is. Didn't really see any alternatives to get back alleyways or turning garages to the, when we start turning garages to the sides and the rears, the buildings just get a lot larger footprints, and there's obviously more expense when you're putting alleyways in the back, and we're maintaining them and having to do that. So we didn't study it for this site. No, we pretty much stuck with the plan that we know here, and tried to make it as efficient as possible.
Yeah, and I don't know that it necessarily has to be backloaded or side-loaded or something like that. It just seems like somebody out there has got a different design that they're building somewhere across the country that's not this same thing.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, there probably is alternatives, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what those are necessarily. We've just tried to stay within, I guess, the requirements of this
And
townhouse.
I'm not saying it doesn't meet the requirements or that it's gonna affect my vote. It's just, I've seen this so many times, I'd like to see something different.
Sure.
All right. Any other questions?
Can I make one comment?
Yes, sure.
On the fourplex versus duplex elimination there in the northwest corner, I think what we will do is probably look at both options and figure out what's the most efficient way to meet that requirement. Is it, maybe it's a building moves one way or another, one gets eliminated and one doesn't. I don't know what that is until we look at it and study it with our civil engineer, but so there might be a couple different ways of going about that on what gets eliminated.
So that you can provide some access to that back corner and turn it into an active space.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So it would be something, excuse me, sorry, don't mean to interrupt. So probably something similar to what you see there on the South Street. There's that small pocket park. I think that has a proposed playground in it. There's a few different ways that we can get to that active open space that are allowed in the code. So we'll just look at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Stokenberry?
When I first looked at it, I was just going to say the first thing that stood out to me was the two plexes versus fourplexes.
Uh-huh.
Right there, you can eliminate and have all the open space you need because you've got a park that could run lengthwise right there, and you're eliminating that twoplex, and then you've got it over here.
Sure.
They do stand out. So to me, that's easy to find your space.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do I have anybody that would like to speak in favor of either of these petitions? Or opposition?
The residents or the attendees, I'll go double check, but in case anybody else new showed up, they said they were all here for other projects.
I just want to make sure everybody has their opportunity. All right. I will bring it back up here for any other comments, questions from the commissioners on the record. Commissioner Casey.
I guess just a question. Should we look at adding a requirement about removing one of these units, these housing units? If that's something we're concerned about, making sure that gets put in, or should we maybe wait for a future date to take a look at that?
Mr. Wright, would it be necessarily a requirement of removing or just a requirement of that they're going to meet the active open space?
I think it would
requirement?
just be a requirement that they make the modifications needed to meet the open space requirement.
And did you have that as a condition already?
I did not.
Okay.
So if that's a condition that the planning commission would like to make, they would need to add that as a 9th condition.
Okay. Any other questions before I close the public hearing? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close both of the public hearings. And the first item would be a consideration of the rezoning. I would entertain a motion.
Does that 9th condition need to be on this rezoning or on the concept plan?
It would just be on the concept plan. The rezoning doesn't have any conditions.
Okay, then I'll move for rezoning RZ 03207285 Chapman Ridge first plat.
Wait a minute.
7265.
65, Jackie.
7265, I'm sorry.
All right.
Were there 8 conditions?
No conditions on the rezoning, no.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so
I'll
I have
second.
a a motion from Commissioner Fairbanks for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Casey. This will be a roll call vote.
Planning Commissioner Billups,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Stokenberry,
Aye.
Commissioner Fairbanks,
Aye.
Commissioner Casey,
Aye.
Chair Graham.
Aye. All right, that motion passes unanimously. We will send that recommendation of approval to the July 6th meeting of the City Council. And that brings us to the Planned Development Concept Plan. I would entertain a motion.
I'll move for approval of the Plan Development Concept Plan, PDC 03207266, Chapman Ridge First Plat, with 8 staff conditions and adding a 9th condition that the plan meet the 10% active open space requirement.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Fairbanks. I would entertain a second.
I'll second.
I have a second from Commissioner Casey. Again, this will be a roll call vote.
Planning Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Stokenberry,
Aye.
Commissioner Fairbanks,
Aye.
Commissioner Casey,
Aye.
Commissioner Billups,
Aye.
Chair Graham.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, so that motion carries as well, and we will send that recommendation to the July 6th City Council meeting, and they meet at 6 o'clock. All right, moving on along. We still don't need a break?
I think we should take maybe a minute.
Take a minute break and,
We'll allow the people to come on in.
okay. Thank you. I don't feel space, David. I'm not singing. Or telling jokes.
No, we are still on TV, remember?
I know. Yeah, these chairs, any open chair is available. Yeah, and there's another chair over in this back corner as well. All right. Okay, moving along, we are now to item 7 and 9. We will hear both of those together. Item 7 is the public hearing for planned residential overlay concept plan. Item 9 is the preliminary plat for Sunny Point PRO third plat. So I'm going to open the public hearing for, where did lost my train of thought here. Planned residential overlay concept plan PROC-03-20-7253. And I would ask Ms. Summers for the exhibits.
Both public hearings?
The other one's not a public hearing. It's
Oh, the
just-
other one's not a public
It's for a
hearing. Okay.
preliminary plat.
Okay.
Thank you, though, for reminding me.
Chairman Graham, I offer the following exhibits into the record. 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on June 6, 2020. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference. 9, Shepherd Road resident comments submitted June 19, 2020, and what we have marked as Exhibit 10, which is an email comment submitted by John Fogarty on June 22, 2020.
All right, thank you very much. And Mr. Jury, you're going to make the presentation this evening for us.
Thank you, Chairman Graham and Planning Commissioners. Before you today, the applicant and property owner Sean Woods with Sunny Point Investors LLC is requesting approval of the amended PRO or Planned Residential Overlay Concept Plan, as well as preliminary plat approval. This is for the last phase in Sunny Point, the existing subdivisions. First and second phases have been built or have been platted, at least, and they're currently building the second phase. The proposal for this third and final phase of Sunny Point is the remaining 7.41 acre property located in the southeast corner of Artie Mize Road and Shepherd Road. The applicant is proposing to amend phase 3 of the original Sunny Point PRO concept plan that was approved back around 2002 area, and that plan from 2002 is still in effect, and they could build to that today if they chose to. But they are requesting approval of this proposal, changing the approved 2002 original plan. The most significant amendments proposed by the applicant concern the road network and the number of lots. I'll show the proposal here, scrolling down to it. The current proposal it provides 26 lots, single-family homes, a 1-lot reduction from the 27 lots shown on the original plan for the third phase. Additionally, the developer is proposing to close Northwest Shepherd Road along most of the property's frontage, save for the easternmost 150 feet or so. And reroute Shepherd Road and the existing residents along Shepherd Road through this subdivision and out onto Artie Mize, where they are proposing a new road, Northwest Soul Drive, to connect onto Artie Mize as proposed. You can sort of see in this and won't it zoom in? There it goes. As you can see, Northwest Soul Drive connecting to Artie Mize. Couple things. Artie Mize is actually under control of the City of Independence. They've given a preliminary letter stating that they'll provide their final approval pending the civil plans and making sure the geometries and the site distances and everything like that are safe at that location. But that will all be verified prior to road construction. And that must come from City Independence since it is their right of way. Additionally, Shepherd Road is actually in the county. Currently it's an unincorporated Jackson County road. That will have to be annexed in prior to construction of the roads as well, or deconstruction, I guess, in this instance, as they're proposing. The road, just to provide a little bit of clarity on what the rerouting would entail. Shepherd Road connects to Artie Mize and the western side of this site. The applicant is actually proposing to remove Shepherd Road from that western boundary, approximately to roughly 120, 130 feet from their eastern property line. They'll improve Shepherd Road, full road improvements along the northeast corner of their site and bring that around to Sunnyvale Court and out to Soul Drive. So this is a change from the original approval. The original approval required Shepherd Road to remain in its existing condition or in its existing location and be improved to city standards. Other than those two items, the 1-lot reduction in the number of lots and the proposed rerouting of Shepherd Road through the subdivision. The proposed amendment largely remains the same and largely consistent with the original PRO concept plan. So thus, staff does recommend approval of the PRO concept plan based on that fact. And any questions about the rerouting of Shepherd Road, I believe Public Works should be able to answer. But staff does recommend approval of the PRO concept plan and also the preliminary plat with conditions. I will mention that the preliminary plat is in substantial compliance with the proposed concept plan. So since the Planning Commission makes the final decision on the preliminary plat, they should, based on the condition that if the PROC or the concept plan is denied, the preliminary plat is also denied, but the Planning Commission should recommend or should approve the preliminary plat based on that condition, knowing that if council does deny the concept plan, it will also be denied. But since it is in substantial compliance with the concept plan, since they are the exact same thing, then Planning Commission must approve the preliminary plat if it is in compliance with this concept plan. So just clarifying that protocol for the preliminary plat. But I will stand for any questions if there are any.
All right. Any questions? Yes, Commissioner Billups.
Yeah. I'm curious, and it may be a question for you, maybe we may, well, I'm sure we'll get Public Works in here too. In your report, you said that because R.D. Mize is in Independence, that they would not have to do any street improvements to R.D. Mize as opposed with this development.
The city won't require any improvements to R.D. Mize.
Okay.
So I can't speak for Independence on that.
If Shepherd Road was left in the county and wasn't annexed, would we be requiring street improvements on a county road as well? And what would be the difference between the county road versus the city road in Independence?
Typically, any development that is adjacent to a right-of-way needs to improve that right-of-way. Part of the original development was to annex. Part of the original development approval was actually to requiring them to annex in their portion of Shepherd Road and subsequently improve it as well. If the road remained in the county.
Yeah, if this plan was not, if this plan amendment was not approved and the developer was required to build to the plan that was previously approved, the Shepherd Road right-of-way would have to be annexed prior to them being able to actually do the road improvements to Shepherd Road.
Right, but my concern here, and we can get into this at whatever point we need to, is that by annexing Shepherd Road at this point, we're creating a couple of pockets of county within the city limits with no, this is our, you know, I hate that when we've got a hole in the middle of the city that doesn't belong to the city. And we're creating two pockets by annexing Shepherd Road. And I'm not sure I understand the need to do that. That's.
Well, the need would be, there's two different ways that it would be needed. One is if Shepherd Road was needed to be improved to city standards, so per the original plan, then that has to be done to city standards and the road would need to be annexed at that point. If this plan is approved, then Shepherd Road would be, need to be annexed so that it can be removed and decommissioned as a road. So it could be torn back up and restored back to not being a road. So we wouldn't want to have that Shepherd Road access remain while this new one is popped out to the south of it. So that's
Why can't we have both? Why do we need to have?
Engineering can speak to that it would be a access, you know, there's a distance spacing between two full movement accesses onto a road.
I mean, we have lots of roads that are, you know, two lots apart.
Right, but we try to avoid that rather than creating a situation where we have that. and by doing that, we would have Shepherd Road right away, the road cleared out, and this would be the only road out there. But Adam with engineering can explain, you know, the distances and things like that a little bit better than I can.
Because that was what I didn't see anywhere in the staff report, was why Shepherd had to be closed.
Yeah, I can speak to that to some extent. Again, and I hope you can hear me with the
You're
mask
fine,
on.
you're fine.
So Artie Mize in this location is under the jurisdiction of the City of Lee Summit. So they are independents rather, and they would ultimately have that final say as far as the distance between those drives. Their conditional letter was, or their initial approval letter was upon the condition that only one of these two drives remains due to just the geometry of the layout, coming around the curve. There's limited sight distance. The existing Shepherd Road approach at that stop controlled intersection is a rather steep incline. There's some vegetation that limits visibility through there. So kind of all of those, you know, the geometry, the steep incline, and some of the existing vegetation would all hinder if we had two drives in close proximity to one another. When possible, I understand that areas within the city exist that maybe don't meet the current standard, but in general, when we can, we try to you know, adhere to the common standards of the day. So I don't know if that helps answer.
Any other questions?
Not yet.
Good for now? Okay.
So
Any questions for Mr.
If I can answer one thing. If the question at hand is, do we approve the proposed plan with the removal of Shepherd Road, or do we deny that plan and revert to the original that is providing access out of, or an exit out of Sunny Point onto Shepherd Road? So that's, yeah, it's either the proposal submitted by the developer today or the original plan if this proposal is denied.
Yes, Commissioner Fairbanks.
Is it conceivable that we could put these plans up side by side?
Yes, I actually do have that as one of the, in the staff report. Sorry, I didn't bring that up earlier. And it's a kind of a grainy
That's so
plan.
small.
So if you tilt your head a little bit to the left, I guess. This is the proposal from 2002, and the Sunnyvale actually goes out to Shepherd Road, exits onto Shepherd Road, and a good portion of Sunny Point exits out onto Shepherd Road. The farthest left, or the farthest east or west, sorry, west street is a cul-de-sac closest to Artie Mize, and roughly where that cul-de-sac is about where Soul Drive is proposed to cut across and connect to Artie Mize.
So there's actually a road right now? So there's actually a road right now that goes,
To Shepherd,
well,
or
2 lots in, there's another road, and it just dead ends?
so that does not exist. I believe Sunnyvale is maybe like 3 or 4 lots north of Eclipse Place. I forget exactly where that cutoff line is, maybe 5 lots up. I think it's about even with the cul-de-sac on the eastern side, or the double cul-de-sac on the eastern side of this proposal, or the Sunny Point original plan. So that stub out road does not exist currently, and it's not proposed. It was proposed to be removed in the current plan as well, actually. So,
Okay, so they would delete that particular road?
yeah, the properties to the east of here, I'm sure some of the residents could probably speak to it today, but I'm sure their desire to redevelop east of here is pretty limited.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, Commissioner Stokenberry.
Just a quick question. With the new plan, there's gonna only be one way in and out, is that correct? Sole Road?
There's an existing way out, which I believe
And
is
that's not gonna close?
no.
Okay, that's-
Chapman Drive, or is it Ridge? Chapman Ridge Drive, along, and that actually connects down to Artie Mize, where Artie Mize sort of turns from Woods Chapel onto there,
Very good.
and then 39th Street into Independence. But that is one way out of this subdivision, and then I believe per fire code they are required to have a second exit.
That's what I was wondering. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Jury? All right. Mr. Woods. If I could get you to be sworn in and then state your name and address for the record.
Do someone swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, so help God?
I do.
Keep your name and address.
Sean Woods, Sunny Point Investors, 5050 Southwest US Highway 40, Blue Springs, Missouri, 64015. I'll give you some background on why we proposed the changes to this. And if you guys are familiar with this area, Shepherd Road has basically no approach to it. You come up and as you're exiting or getting onto Artie Mize, you're at a pretty steep incline. And there's ditches on both sides of it. So for us to bring that road up to city standards today is near impossible. The grades that are in there and the water that's coming across going to a creek that's up there kind of where on that plan it shows, that'd be kind of the northeast corner there. There's a large creek down there that we've got to get water to. So the improvements to do that, if we could even get it to meet grades of the city to comply, the piping and the storm sewers that would be required through there are enormous. And then you can't really see further to the east, but there's, I believe, 5 or 6 properties back there that are lived on, but that is landlocked. There's no place to go. You go back there and it's bur oak woods, so it's never going to develop that direction. The other thing is the road doesn't meet any current standards on past there either. There's no deceasable turnarounds. You can't take a fire truck down there and turn it around. It's not proper widths when you go past that point. So when we started looking at it, we thought we were helping the residents. I don't know if they're here to speak in favor or opposed, but we thought we were helping keep that more private for them by getting our traffic to Artie Mize before dumping them onto Shepherd Road. Because if we do the old plan, probably 25 to 35 of our residents are going to go to Shepherd Road to get out. So we were trying to alleviate that and bring them onto Shepherd Road bring them onto Artie Mize through our new configuration. So that was our whole thinking of it. But in multiple meetings with the city engineers and things, we looked at it many different ways of storm sewer and improvements needed on Shepherd Road. And like I said, it was darn near impossible. And then also when you're making improvements on a road that really has no way to go anywhere in the future, it just didn't make a lot of sense. So other than that, I mean, we dropped a lot, so we're actually going backwards on density. And landscape plan is same as the first 2 phases, and housing will be exactly the same as the phase we're in currently. So no changes there. So I'd answer any other questions you might have.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Woods? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of this? Okay. Are these in favor, though? Okay. Anyone in favor? All right. Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? And I have a speaker form filled out. Where's the name? Oh, Jeff Chapman, are you here? If you,
I'm Jeff Chapman, but Doug Spilker has been in communication with all of us who live on the
is he going to speak in?
So if he could go ahead and go first, Alvarez there.
Okay. So, Mr. Spilker,
Always keep something in the back.
and I think you're aware of the procedure.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
What's your name and address, please?
My name is Doug Spilker. Kathy and I live on 23,000 Northwest Shepherd Road. We're probably the most recent, or we are the most recent house on there. And I'd like to share with you some of the points regarding the 5 residents on Shepherd Road. And you should have had in your packet a letter that was written by us. Hopefully you had a chance to take a look at that and read it as well. Shepherd Road, even has, as Sean has explained, it's a very rural, natural, actually the term that the city uses is it's a natural road. There's only 5 of us, 5 homes on the street. There's only 9 residents. We do back up to Burr Oak. You know, the lifestyles of people are different for different people. They might have apartments or duplexes or subdivisions. We chose the rural environment. Our lots are up to 10 acres. Again, we back up to Burr Oak. 2 of us back up to Burr Oak. And for example, this morning I was working in the garden and all I heard was birds and a bullfrog and you know, just the quiet serenity is why the residents have purchased properties on this. And it's a limited access. For example, it was when I was working out there were only 2 cars that came by and I knew who they were. We always feel comfortable regarding the security of our neighborhood. And it's not a road that people walk on. So don't get us wrong. We don't object to the maintenance free homes that are being built because maybe one day we might need them, you know, that sort of thing. But what we object to is the cutting through of that development onto Shepherd Road. And the thing is that when we were building our home, the utility map that we got from the city listed, and Mr. Jury keeps talking about Sunnyvale. Well, if you really look at it, it's considered Sunnyvale Court. I don't know what flashes through your mind, but when you hear court, you assume it's a dead end, a cul-de-sac. So all the information that we were provided when we were working on getting our home platted, and as I know Mr. Jury will agree with this because he said it was one of the first projects he worked on, was it took us almost 2 years to get all the approvals for us to build there. That's how important it was for us for this rural, quiet environment. We were willing to go through almost 2 years of platting our property. So all the residents on Shepherd Road feel the same way. From the standpoint, either in the paperwork or what I've heard today, we really don't see the value of cutting through the old plan. I mean, when you think about it, this plan was in place 18 years ago. What's to say there can't be a third plan instead of going and relying on a 2002 plan? Because things change. I mean, that's a long time. I mean, that's a baby turning into an adult. That's a long time. So furthermore, the change in the cut through really could be a hardship on a couple of at least 3 out of the 5 registrants that are there. One is an independent trucker with a 10-wheel dump truck. That's his living. He would have to drive through a neighborhood every day when he goes to work. And one of the benefits of having a rural place with large acreage is you can have trailers and park equipment. 3 of the registrants have gooseneck trailers that are 20-some feet long, And for them to make that sharp turn going through the neighborhood, you might have to put up signs that say no parking on the street for them to be able to get through there. The applicant provided a written statement on why the rerouting of Shepherd Road is of public interest. We just don't get it. We don't get it from the standpoint because I know that Mr. Hildedick said that there's a concern about safety. Well, I contacted Independence, who's responsible there, and the clerk I talked to at the police department says that she checked the database every which way, and there was no reports of any accidents at that intersection of Shepherd Road and R.D. Myers Road as far back as they could find. So from the standpoint, yeah, there might be some vegetation needs cutting, and we may need to influence them to do it a little more, but that, you know, with only 9 residents, the amount of traffic is so limited that I've never had to wait behind someone to pull out of Shepherd Road onto R.D. Mize. The developer said in his letter that he would have an additional connection to R.D. Mize Road. So from the standpoint of what we feel is that why only stay with 2 options? Why not require them to re-review this? And there's 2, Eclipse and Sunnyvale were both listed as courts on the maps that we saw. Why couldn't the plan be revised to require those to both be courts? You still have the 2 exits, and then you wouldn't need to cut through to Shepherd Road. You wouldn't have to worry about improvement or anything else. So basically, we don't see any advantage to the city. We don't see any advantage to the Blue Springs residents, but we see a real detriment to those of us that have chosen to live in a more rural environment. And if you really go back to the plan review criteria that was in the packet that received, and I quote, it says, "The plan shall be reviewed according to the following criteria." And number 3 is the extent to which approval of the application would detrimentally affect nearby properties. We really feel that by cutting through there and making us drive through there, and the other thing that could happen is that if you look at the plat very carefully, not only would there be increased traffic because people see a new area, whether it's a new ride at Worlds of Fun or whatever, there's going to be people coming down, and as Sean readily acknowledged, there's not a good place to turn around. So if you encourage traffic to go down there, they're going to have to turn around in our driveway. So there's going to be a lot more traffic coming down Shepherd Road, what I call looky-loos, just to see what's down there. The other thing, by cutting through, it's going to dovetail into the walking trail. That road, again, everyone acknowledges, is not really set up for large traffic or pedestrian traffic. So if you start to have people, they're going to cut through off the walking trail and come down Shepherd Road where there's no sidewalks, and the city has said right in the plan that sidewalks would not be required. And even when we built our house, we have documentation that said that sidewalks should not be required. So you're going to have additional traffic, additional pedestrian traffic, which potentially could be safety issues for the residents of Blue Springs coming from Sunny Point. Number 4, the extent to which the proposed use would substantially harm the value of nearby properties. Our value is high because of the secluded nature of our properties. It would definitely impact the potential of us in the future regarding the value of our homes. And it could actually affect financially one of our residents regarding his truck business. If he had complaints or whatever, or damage on the roads or whatever going out the subdivision. And finally, number 8, the gain, if any, to the public health, safety, and welfare due to the denial of the application as compared to the hardship imposed upon the landowner, if any, as a result of the denial of the application. That's one of the criteria. So if there's increased safety problems regarding this road, when you increase the traffic, both pedestrian and vehicle, we think that you should object to the current plan not necessarily to the maintenance provided homes, but we object to the cutting through to Shepherd Road. And for your information, one of the requirements, like we've talked about, is the annexing of Shepherd Road from Jackson County. We just found out about this when Karen published the minutes regarding this requirement. And so since we only found out about this on Friday, we plan to ask Jackson County to withhold a decision until we have a chance to talk to them. We think we ought to have our point of view brought to their attention before they make a decision. My time's probably up. I probably went longer than you wanted to hear. I thank you for your time. I would like to refer you to our letter because regardless of what happens, we would like a couple of additions or at least some recommendations. There are a beautiful stand of mature trees on the north side of the property. And it's our understanding when we were talking with Mr. Jury that trees in the right-of-way of the city can't be taken down without special permission. So we would encourage you that if this plan goes through, which we hope it doesn't, as is, at least try and keep that mature stand. You're talking about 75-foot distance on some of these other plans. This is a beautiful, mature set of trees that all along the north, or the south side of Shepherd Road, the south side of Shepherd Road. Please try and maintain those if at all possible. Thank you very much. I'll be glad to take any questions.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Spilker? All right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Chapman, did you want to speak still?
I only have one addition.
Okay. I'll just need you to be sworn in first.
As a chaplain and minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ, yes, I do swear.
And then I'll need your name and address for the record, please.
Jeff Chapman, 23011 Shepherd Road, Blue Springs.
Thank you, sir.
I just wanted to stress, by the way, thank you all for your time, particularly here at the end of a day. But I just wanted to stress that if we, the members of our small community who live on Shepherd Road, had wanted to live in a subdivision, we would have moved to a subdivision. We live where we live because we like it quiet and secluded and private. Very simple. Any questions?
Any questions? Commissioner Fairbanks?
Yes, ma'am.
I may not be understanding something, but I thought the proposal was to close Shepherd Road on our demise. So you would not actually be having people from Sunnyvale pulling onto Shepherd Road and...
Ma'am, that's the only means of ingress or egress. Our demise and Shepherd Road, that intersection is the only way to our road.
But the proposal is to redirect and close Shepherd Road
And
have
put
you
us
come in
through-
through Soul Drive.
Right, through the subdivision, yes, ma'am.
So there wouldn't be anybody driving on Shepherd Road, what is currently Shepherd Road, because it would be closed at our demise.
Right, and that's our objection. You see, we don't want to be rerouted through a subdivision. This intersection that's so dangerous, it's never had a recorded accident at our demise and Shepherd Road. That's our means to get in and out of our homes.
Right.
And is it all right if he speaks?
Are you?
Let me answer her question
Okay.
first.
The road goes both ways.
Yeah.
So, my understanding of the proposed concept plan is that Shepherd Road would be closed at our demise.
Right.
So you would not be able to go out on our demise, and so you would not have people from Sunnyvale driving up to Shepherd Road to destroy your privacy.
let me
May I,
finish with him and then
may
I'll
I
let you
defer
take
to him to answer
Sure.
that question?
Sure. Because you've already been sworn in.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
The complete Shepherd Road will not be eliminated. We live on Shepherd Road. The roads go both ways, and our concern is that more people from Sunny Point will be coming through because they'll have direct access. If people from Sunny Point wanted to come down Shepherd Road now, they would have to go out R.D. Mize and come down. By cutting through, you're actually giving them more of an opportunity to drive down our road with no place to turn around. You have an opportunity for the people on the walking trail to go down Shepherd Road, which they wouldn't have done before. So really, you're increasing traffic from Sunny Point. You're not decreasing traffic from Sunny Point.
I thought our public works director said that Independence would not allow two accesses to R.D. Mize in such close proximity. Is that correct?
Well, that's fine. We were there first, so we feel that, I mean, I'm sorry, but we built there for that reason. We were there first. Why shouldn't we keep our road? That's our point, is that we bought these properties for this reason: the security, the safety, the serenity, and that kind of stuff. And by opening it up to easy access by all these other, we're not antisocial, don't get us wrong. We're not antisocial. It's just that we like the serenity, and when we were looking for a place to build, to just tell you a short story, my wife drove around Jackson County for months looking for a piece of property, and she always circled back around to Shepherd Road because of such a lovely place. We'd welcome you to come take a look if you'd like to. But from that standpoint, we're just afraid of the increased traffic, both from safety of the residents, as well as pedestrians, and all the extra car traffic. It's all potential, but it's now making it very easy for residents of Sunny Point to drive down a dead-end road with no place to turn around.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chairman Graham, if I can clarify something.
Mr. Jury.
So according to this plan, yes, Shepherd Road residents would be routed through the subdivision. According to the original plan, which the developer does have the right to build to, since it is an approved plan, Sunny Point would be routed through Shepherd Road. So those are the
They can
original.
do that without any approval.
Correct. They could apply for a final, they could construct the roads and apply for a final plat according to the approved original plan.
Okay. Were there any other questions for Mr. Chapman or Mr. Spilker from the commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Casey.
I would maybe just ask them, if we end up in a position where it's one of these plans or the other, is there one that they're more preferable to?
You want to direct that to Mr. Spilker?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
I can't speak for all the residents, but in my personal opinion, we've always wanted our road improved. If the developer is going to improve it, our concern, though, if you look at the fine detail of what Mr. Jury has provided, the original plan, I think, is just to improve half of the road. And so we're talking about probably, so here you have a natural road and you're only going to improve half of it. That would be the original plan. I guess half is better than none. Glass is half full or half empty. So from that standpoint, I guess we would probably support the original plan.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners? Do I have anyone else that wants to speak in opposition? Yes, sir. I'll need sworn in and state your name and address.
David Wilt, 23216 Northwest Shepherd Road. That's the very end of this road.
He needs to swear you in first.
I do. I would like to point out that if we connect currently to the Shepherd Road, turning only to the east and closing Shepherd Road, as Doug has already pointed out, people are gonna turn around in our driveways. I happen to be the end of that driveway with a big circle. So I know where my traffic is gonna be going. It's gonna be going on my driveway at night, lights flashing in my bedroom every night. I've already dealt with that some when the home was first built and the road was improved. This now routes every single person in this subdivision to the east if they want to go down that road. They won't go to the west to R.D. Mize, they'll come to my house. And I would ask all of you to think about the fact that how many of you would like someone to drive down your road, onto your driveway, circle around your house and go back? Because that's what this will do just for the person at the end of the driveway. Or they turn around in someone else's driveway. We're there for our seclusion. I know it's a privilege, but we've invested in that. That's why we're opposed to this and having traffic routed onto Shepherd Road to the east. Anybody who chooses can. We don't object to that. But I am tired of people thinking my driveway is their turnaround place. So I would ask all of you to think about your position in life if that's what you would want to. I thank you.
Any questions for this witness? All right. Anyone else that would like to speak in opposition?
I'll say something.
Yes, sir. You know the drill. You're going to have to be sworn in and then state your name and address for the record.
Solemnly swear that the testimony about to give in this case will be the truth, so help you God.
Yep. My name's Robert Embry, live at 23003 Northwest Shepherd Road. I am the one that has the dump truck, and I work in subdivisions a lot. I know people tolerate it when they're getting their basements backfilled. When the subdivision's all done, they don't want to see no part of my truck at 5:30 every morning going in and and at night or whatever. So I guess that's probably about it.
All right. Thank you, sir. Was there any questions from the commissioners? All right, thank you. Anyone else that wants to speak in opposition? All right, Mr. Woods, do you want to address concerns or rebut?
I don't have anything to rebut. I have a question. I don't care if Shepherd Road is there or not. Our reason, like I said, for doing that is because it's impossible to build it feasibly in the condition it's in and with the topography that's there. So if I could take that road going to Shepherd out and put the one in at Soul Drive, I'd be happy to do that. But I don't think City of Independence is going to allow us to do that. So my other question is, if I took both of them out, I know that Ms. Fairbanks lives in a neighborhood that has 65 residents with one outlet in it. This would be 57 residents with one outlet. If that would, I believe that meets fire code. I think it's somewhere in the 75 to 100 range where you have to have two. Would that be acceptable? Then we would just take the stub drive going to R.D. Mize would go away. This loop would stay in here, and then the Sunnyvale Court, like Mr. Spoker mentioned, would become some sort of cul-de-sac back there. So, I mean, there's three options on the table. Like I said, I just know that I'd be happy to take that out, but there's no way I'd get through Independence with that. So if there's a way to do just one entrance and loop the roads together, then there's no, Independence doesn't have to be messed with. Do you know off the top of your head what the code is?
For what exactly?
How many residents with one or two outlets?
I don't know. We'll have to double check with CJC, Fire Protection District. So
like I said, I know Indigo Hills has 65.
We'd have to table it if we're gonna verify that.
Are you okay with tabling?
Well, I am, but I mean, I don't want to be back here. I can't believe somebody in here doesn't know what the allowance is on that. But I mean, I don't want to. I guess just say I don't care where the road goes out if I have to have one. The problem is I can't keep them both, and so we thought that the way we were doing it was making their access much more private to where they would be the only ones going that direction. When I open it up to 30 residents going out there, and all the people coming to their houses, I figured more would turn right or left, but it doesn't make any sense to improve Shepherd Road, both sides, half side at all for, I'm sorry, 6 residents. And if there was a possibility of future development, that might make a lot more sense, but there's no way anything's developing out there at all. There's one more parcel of ground to the north that we tried to purchase and we couldn't purchase it. And that's it. I mean, then you're in between neighborhoods and no sewers and Burr Oaks. So.
Okay. Any questions?
Yes, I just wondered.
You'll have to come back up to the podium,
Okay.
please.
I know they said you can't have them 2 entrances that close together. I understand that. And it'd be for a fire thing to start with, for a fire truck to get in. So could you redevelop, have like just a little gravel place where emergency, if a fire truck did have to get in to Sunny Point, you know what I'm saying? From RD Mize. Basically somewhere where you was gonna put the existing road out to RD Mize. You see what I'm saying? Where you guys is trying to put your road now out to RD Mize.
Yeah, they won't allow that. I mean, I have to pay turnarounds now for fire trucks. It's crazy.
And you said, now what?
Oh. So, Mr. Jury, what?
I don't know what the
Because we don't have an
applicant would
answer to
rather
the one
do.
question.
Do what?
We don't have an answer if we can get by without a secondary access.
Yeah, I'd want a confirmation
And
from
engineering
CJC.
that'd have to come from fire. But
Yeah, Fire
engineering
Protection
would
District.
have that.
Yeah, if the question is, can the subdivision be built with only the one access to the south off of, is it Eclipse or either way? Chapman. I mean, in terms of just connectivity throughout for not only fire protection, but also snow removal activities and just in general, if there were an accident at Chapman or something which blocked that road, all of these 26 residences could potentially be locked in this subdivision with only a single access to Chapman. So I'll say that Public Works is certainly in favor of 2 access points to this third plat.
Okay. And I've had everybody testify that wants to testify. All right. Comments, concerns, questions? Commissioner Billups.
I have a lot of, if I bought one of these lots, I certainly would not want that heavy equipment driving by every morning. And I wouldn't want to have to, if that was the only option. I wouldn't want my subdivision to have that as a potential, because I would think that would make those lots very hard to market.
If Shepherd Road's rerouted.
If Shepherd Road is rerouted. I'm agreeing with Mr. Spilker. I think there's got to be an option 3 out there somewhere. RD Mize Road is not a busy road like it used to be after they did the 39th Street cut through. It really doesn't have very much traffic on it. So having those two roads out there, I don't think is that big a deal. Now maybe I'm wrong from an engineering standpoint, but especially no more traffic than is on Shepherd. I'd like to see a third option with Sunnyvale Court cul-de-sac and Saul Drive either going through where it does or someplace else. And that's the way I'd like to see it.
If it met fire code, it could be closed off. Would you be
if it met fire code, it could be closed off. Or if say Sunnyvale or Saul Drive went through between lots 70 and 69 to create more space or something like that. You know, I'm not an engineer. I'm not here to redesign somebody's project.
Okay.
But I think there's a third option out there that would make everybody happy and would make would make those lots more marketable.
Okay.
Chairman
So
Graham,
Matt-
if I can.
Yeah, and then I have a question for you.
I will mention the one option of leaving Shepherd Road that I believe you're discussing, Ken, is the Shepherd Road would still have to be improved.
Well, if it wasn't annexed, why would it have to be improved?
Well, the city does have to.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
Is I don't think it needs to be annexed because if we annex Shepherd Road, and the only reason to annex it is because that way we can require the improvements, because then we're creating that pocket of county inside the city that I don't like.
And the annexation would reduce that pocket.
But it would actually create the pocket.
I'd like to clarify something if I may. The city does currently own a portion of the Shepherd Road right-of-way. The city of Blue Springs owns a portion of the Shepherd Road right-of-way.
Is that why only half of the road needs to be fixed? Because we own
The
half of the
requirement
road?
for a half-road improvement is just a standard width development, so that's not the reason for that requirement.
I might point out when we had our road.
You're gonna have to come up to the podium. And then
When we recently had our road resurfaced, quite frankly, there was an argument between Blue Springs and Jackson County as who was gonna do it, and Jackson County did it. Blue Springs said, we're not part of it. So he may say there is, but they didn't own up to it when we needed it re-chipped and sealed, which was just done last fall. So.
I
The road is essentially improved to our standards of more than adequacy. They fixed a drainage system through the road that was between the Spilkers and ours, where there's a creek that runs through. They put in new rock, shotcreteked that, resurfaced it. Our road is nice at this point. Could it be a blacktop road? Yeah, it's a chip and seal, but it's pretty decent. And I don't know that we need improvement on it at this point, but we don't want more traffic on it because that will wear that road out faster. But, you know, it is partially our little haven in the world, and that's the reason we like it. We love the beautiful trees on the south, as Doug pointed out. So I sit in my backyard and watch deer running through my backyard. They're feeding in my backyard. I don't want more traffic to chase all of them away. I know that those deer currently run through this area that they're going to be improving. That's understandable. We're gonna move in more properties and diminish wildlife areas. They do have bur oaks, but they do travel that area, and a lot. So I leave my house at about 5:30 to 6 in the morning. I'm very careful because there's deer running across that road all the time. They're gonna come from over by the golf course because that's where they reside, and to Bur Oaks, and they travel the road fairly extensively. So we're gonna see a problem within that community of the wildlife on top of that by adding more access to this road. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Druitt, my question. What we have before us is approval or denial of
The proposed plan.
the proposed. If we deny it, they can do the other plan.
Correct.
If they choose. Or they can proceed on to council for their recommendation. If we deny this, they can still have other options to look at, correct?
Correct. If the concept plan is recommended for denial by you guys, the planning commission, and
Because I
denied.
guess my question is, if we table it, really doesn't do anything. It would be better to vote this, and then if it, however way it goes, then the applicant can see how they want to.
I would probably question the applicant if they want to table it to look at other options, but until they say otherwise, then I guess we move forward with the proposed plan.
Mr. Woods?
I think you're right. I mean, it doesn't do any good to table it. I mean, I think I don't want to upset somebody about taking away their privacy, but as Mr. Jury said, I mean, I could go out there and build it today as it is, and we're going to drop all the cars on there and actually have one more lot. So,
well, I guess my question would be, if we proceed and deny this, do you have the, other than building it that way, can you still pursue the other avenues of possibly no secondary entrance?
Oh, I'll definitely look at them. I
keeping
mean,
the second entrance
the problem is if I
it's
go
not
to
too close.
no secondary entrance, for one, the city's already said they're not going to support that, or they're not, and I don't think my current residents are going to support it because that's going to drive more traffic back past them.
Okay.
So I think no matter what I do, somebody's going to be upset about it unless I just go back and build the original plan, which to me doesn't make any sense because we're improving a road that goes nowhere. So,
Okay. All right. Any other comments from the commissioners? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. And first item would be to consider the planned residential overlay concept plan. I would entertain a motion.
All right.
Commissioner Billups.
Because I would like for the developer to look at an option 3. And I don't think that it's good judgment to have the residents of Shepherd Road having to drive through the subdivision, especially with the heavy equipment. I would move for denial of PROC 03207253.
Okay.
I'll second.
I have a motion to deny from Commissioner Billups, second from Commissioner Fairbanks. This will be a roll call vote.
Planning Commissioner Casey,
Aye for denial.
Commissioner Billups,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Stokenberry,
Aye.
Commissioner Fairbanks,
Aye.
Chair Graham.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carried unanimously.
Okay. That motion carried unanimously. That recommendation will go to City Council at their July 6th meeting at 6 o'clock. So the next item, how does that affect the preliminary plat?
If the concept plan is approved by City Council, the preliminary plat is in substantial compliance with the concept plan. So staff does recommend approval of the preliminary plat based on that fact. There is a condition saying that if the concept plan is denied by council, then the preliminary plat is in effect revoked and null and void.
But conditions of the preliminary plat meet all the requirements.
Correct, because it meets or matches line for line on the concept plan.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion in regard to the preliminary plat.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Billups.
because of what staff just said, and because the preliminary plat is more of a not a legislative, I'm not going to use the right word, administerial function, and it does meet the codes and conditions, I would move for approval PP 03207254 with the 7 conditions.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Commissioner Casey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Is that, with my quorum, is that still?
Yeah.
Okay, so that passes?
Passes.
Okay. So that preliminary plat is approved. All right. So that brings us to item 10 on the agenda, which I think is other business. I lost my agenda. There it is. Other business, Mr. Mallon.
Staff does not have any further presentations this evening. Wanted to let the planning commissioners know that we will have a meeting on July 13th. We already have some items that are scheduled for that meeting, and so we will be back in person for that July 13th meeting. So that's all that we have.
All right. Anything from the commissioners?
I'm just glad to be back in.
It is nice to be back. Thank you. All right, seeing no other business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.